to our talk about metric. In the last video, we talked about the metric system, and as we talked about the metric system, we talked about meters and liters and grams and seconds, which is distance and time and volume and mass. But we didn't talk about temperature. Here in the United States, we do measure temperature in Fahrenheit. If you've ever traveled, you might have heard Celsius temperatures, things like that, 38 degrees Celsius. You're like, I don't know, is that hot? Is it cold? We'll use Celsius in the lab itself. All of our temperature probes and all of our thermometers, they all measure in Celsius. However, when we get to the math, which chemistry is math, I always say chemistry is math with fire and bubbles. You're going to have to measure temperature, but then you have to plug it in a unit called Kelvin, which the guy on your screen right now is Lord Kelvin. He looked at temperature and he said, you know what? When you have these little molecules and atoms, all of these little molecules and atoms are moving. One of the laws of thermodynamics says that all matter is moving unless it is when it stops, that means that that's the coldest possible temperature, and that's actually what he said. So I'm kind of getting cart in front of the horse here. But he said as the little particles are moving, they get warmer, they move faster. When they get colder, they move slower. So eventually, things get colder, they slow down. They move slower, they get colder, they slow down, colder, they slow down, colder, they slow down, till eventually you're going to hit a temperature that all of that matter stops moving. So no molecules are moving, no atoms are moving. That is the coldest possible temperature. So Lord Kelvin named this temperature scale after himself. Many scientists do that. That's how they leave their mark on the scientific world. Hopefully we're talking about them hundreds of years later. So if you ever hear Gable about anything, hey, that's me. But you have Kelvin, and with your Kelvin, it's not really a degree because it's a motion. So you don't use the degree sign. So you'll just see something that says like 423 K. Where your degrees Celsius will have the little degree sign there. So with your temperature, basically what you have is a temperature scale that is based off of the fact that when you have 0 Kelvin, it looks like okay, so that's why I wrote the word 0 there. But at 0 Kelvin, there is no energy in the matter itself. That is against that law of thermodynamics that I said. It says that all matter has energy. So they say that 0 Kelvin can't actually be hit. So what are scientists trying to do? Hit 0 Kelvin. So they are trying to actually hit that temperature at which there's no energy in the particles, because if you do that, then you get to write your new law, and you get to name it after yourself, and you get to say, hey, look, I broke this law of physics, which is a pretty big deal. So with the Kelvin scale, 0 Kelvin, no energy, nothing is moving. 0 Kelvin is the coldest possible temperature that you can have at all. So what they figured out that the 0 Kelvin happens at negative 273 degrees Celsius, which is about, I'm going from memory here, negative 459, I think Fahrenheit is the value there. So we can get an equation because 1 degree Celsius is 1 degree Kelvin, or 1 Kelvin. So they go up in synchronous order. So as you go between your Celsius and your Kelvin, we have an equation. And that equation is Celsius is equal to, Kelvin is equal to Celsius plus Celsius plus 273, if I can talk, is Kelvin. So we're going to flip over to my document camera here. And when I flip over to the document camera here, I have the 3 different practice problems. Sorry, I'm really struggling. It's late in the day. So we're going to use that equation that Kelvin is equal to Celsius plus 273. Now, when we do work in this class, or when we do math in this class, we are going to take our equation That is not showing work. So when we show work to do our math, you're going to have to plug in the values that are there. So like for this one, it says 43 degrees Celsius, so we want to convert that to Kelvin. So to show my work, I'm going to put 43 plus 273. Most of you will need to pick up a calculator. If you don't want to pick up a calculator, you can do the math on your own. It doesn't matter to me if you use a calculator or not. I know some math classes you have to, or don't use a calculator, whatever. So if you want to use a calculator, pretty simple. You guys know how to do this. 43 plus 273. Woo. And that is equal to 316 Kelvin. So in order to do the math problem, or to get the credit for the math problem, I guess I should say, you're going to show your work. That's this part. This is an equation that's not showing work. You're going to show your work, you're going to get the correct answer, and you're going to use the correct unit. A number without a unit, I don't know what that is. If you just wrote down 316, I don't know if that's equal to 316 giraffes or 316 grams or whatever else. So it's 316 Kelvin. The next problem here, I have 457 Kelvin, and that's equal to Celsius. Or we want to convert that out to Celsius. So we're going to plug it in. 457 is equal to Celsius, that's what I'm solving for, plus 273. Now, you've all passed 6th grade math. You know how to do this. Because you're adding, the opposite of that, to move it to the other side, is subtracting. Again, I don't need to see this part. But 457 minus 273. Again, you can pick up your handy dandy little calculator here. 457 minus 273. That's going to give you 184 degrees Celsius. Now on this one, you have negative 143 Celsius. And you might go, wait a minute, I can't have a negative number. You can for Celsius. The coldest possible temperature is 0 Kelvin. So you can never have an answer for Kelvin that's negative, but Celsius definitely can be negative up to 273, negative 273. So we're going to plug this in the exact same way that we did. Kelvin, that's what I'm solving for, is equal to negative 143 plus 273. So to plug this into my calculator, I'm going to take my negative sign down here, and you put negative 143 plus 273, and that's going to give me 130 Kelvin for an answer. Again, I showed my work, I have the correct answer, and I have a unit. All math problems are worth 3 points, one for showing your work, one for the correct answer, one for the correct units.